right. Hello, everybody. Hopefully, everyone can hear us and see us well, just like in real life. You know, the concert never kicks off the time the ticket says it's going to kick off. It goes have to be a little bit different. But we are ready to go now. We're going to introduce ourselves and then get started. My name is Dr. Anani. I'm an emergency medicine physician, and I'm currently one of the T4D mentors, have been for probably more years than I can count. Have been around the SNMA playground as well a lot. And we're happy to be here today to present Understanding the Applications. Dr. Freeman, I'll let you
Good
introduce
evening,
yourself.
everyone. Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Brandi Freeman. I am a pediatrician in Colorado. I have also been a mentor with Tour for Diversity since the beginning. And then I'm also a longtime supporter and leader for the Student National Medical Association. So happy to talk with you all this evening about understanding applications 24-25. Great. I guess with that, let's go ahead and jump in so we can make sure we have some time for questions. So,
All right.
Let's go to the next slide. All right. So, welcome to Road to Residency. So this is a series that came together a few years ago, a collaboration between the Tour for Diversity in Medicine, the Student National Medical Association, and the Latino Medical Student Association that really came out of some things I think leaders in the organization had observed and wanting to make sure that the members of these organizations were not only prepared, but had all of the resources they needed to make sure that they were going to be their best and most successful in the residency match. So there's a series of workshops. The first kicked off last week with strategies for applying to residency. You're now here at August 12th. We're going to talk about not only the application itself, but signaling and geographic preferences. Next week, you'll be able to tune into personal statements. And then back on the 19th, you're going to be talking more about applying again. In September, there's going to be one, my Dr. Anani, if you can read that one, mine, it looks a little small, or it's my eyes. What does that one say? I'm sorry. I'm not sure, but
no problem. September 10th, financially savvy resident.
Fantastic. And then in March, we will come back. The SOAP is something that most of you won't deal with, but we want to make sure that you have the realities and the resources as well as strategies for dealing with the SOAP. So that'll come back in March of 25. Let's go to the next slide. All right. So this is what we're going to be going through this evening. So we'll do a little bit of background, just talking about where this information came from and the research we did in terms of preparing for this workshop. Then we'll talk about the supplemental application, experiences, and then how you're going to think about the geographic preference section. I think that's something that's new in the past few years, and I think applicants haven't known as much as how to handle it. So we'll go through that. And then signaling, making sure that you're able to securely signal. And then we'll have some time for questions where you'll be able to chat, and Dr. Anani and I will do our best to answer them for you through this session. Let's go to the next slide. So first of all, where did this information come from? We want to make sure that you this is not just our made up thoughts about these applications, that this was thought out, researched, and that we're coming to you with the resources, hopefully make this an easier to understand process for you. So first of all, ERAS. ERAS is, for most of you, going to be the system that you'll be using to apply to residency. It is managed by the LMSA. You are familiar with them. They also controlled your medical school application or AMCAS at that time. So this time you get to you get to experience the electronic residency application service. So in terms of preparing this workshop, we performed research and obtained feedback over the last 4 years to implement changes to the information that we present to you to make sure it is the most up-to-date and accurate regarding these application services. And there has been feedback data, that was obtained regarding the supplemental application. And this information specifically came from applicants and their input about this program and the program feedback that they provided over the years that this program has been, basically the Road to Residency program series has been in existence. We'll go to the next slide. So what is the San Francisco Match? So this is the application service that if you're applying in ophthalmology or plastics, it is what you will use. Or there are 26 fellowships that also use the San Francisco Match, but it is a different organization from ERAS. It's important to note it's a private organization. For those of you, the information that is out there, that is essentially what it's been. They have not made major changes to this service. And so anything that you're seeing out there regarding San Francisco Match for ophthalmology and plastics is going to be what is the standard for this year. And you should move forward with that. Next slide. Okay, so now, we'll just pause for a second while we load. All right. I'm going to see if pausing my camera will help this a little bit. Oops. Let's see. My apologies for the technical difficulties. Give me 1 second to see if I am able to get the presentation back, and then we'll keep going. So stand by and we'll go from there. We gotta love technology in 2024.
All the time.
All right. Oh, Dr. Anani, you're back. Are you able to share again? Or is it stuck for you too?
I'm doing my best. It was stuck for me and it was giving me all kinds of signals. So I'm trying to relaunch it again.
Okay. I do see it now.
All right. Can you see the screen?
I can.
All right. I'll let you continue and I'll keep my camera off to conserve bandwidth and I will jump on again when ready.
Okay. Let's go to the next slide. And if I need to drop camera, just let me know if you think that will help. All right. So for those of you applying in obstetrics and gynecology, that is something new. Obstetricians and gynecologists, they bring life into the world, and they have now decided to bring their own application service in. So it is new. Of note, that those of you who are applying in obstetrics and gynecology, you will not be using ERAS this year. You will be using Residency CAS for OB-GYN. This is obstetrics and gynecology only. So also important to note, if you're applying in multiple specialties, so OB-GYN and family medicine, you will be applying in 2 application services this year. So just important to make sure you have those details straight. This residency application service is managed directly by ACOG, or the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology. And what they've said about this is that they're going to make sure that they're able to evaluate candidates based on their values, priorities, and interests. In terms of looking at it, you're going to note it does look like the same photo as the San Francisco Residency website, but it is actually a different application service. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so now jumping in. So experiences. This is a section in particular that is very prominent in ERAS. So this data in particular is specific to ERAS. So and there were ERAS as well as the other things that you'll note here on the slide. So in terms of what are your experiences, these are those different things that you've done throughout medical school and potentially prior to that are indicating or showing the type of person that you are, the type of applicant that you are. Many of you have probably heard that holistic review is something that is integral into many of the evaluation processes that that programs are using for applicants. And so with this, we need information from you about your experience. What is it that makes up who you are? So let's go through this for each of the programs. So for ERAS, you're able to list 10 experiences total, and then you can pull out 3 of those as meaningful experiences. So these are those things that have really shaped who you are as a physician, as an applicant. Of note, it is not 10 and then an additional 3 meaningful experiences. It is 10 total, and then you will be pulling out an additional 3 of those and noting them as meaningful within the application. For the San Francisco application for ophthalmology, you have the opportunity to list your hobbies and interests. That is the same for plastics. So with that, you can have a multitude of different things. They don't necessarily disclose how to use it, but just note that will be something that you'll be able to indicate about yourself to indicate your individuality as a holistic review person. And then for residency CAS, so the OB-GYN application service, you're going to be able to list 12 with 3 meaningful experiences. Of note, they do have a section that is different from what we've seen in other application services, where they have 3 non-medical work experiences. So what they've indicated that these are things that you may have that are going to be able to shape who you are in terms of your type of or approach to service, your ability to show how you have come to be the type of physician or hobby that you are. I think it's important to note when you're thinking about hobbies that are standalone or even within the experience section that you need to emphasize how this particular hobby or interest has contributed to your skill development or showcases your important qualities. So, is it that you have spent a number of years learning an instrument and it shows your persistence and your ability in terms of developing that skills? These are the types of things that you're going to indicate in this section. For each experience, and as an applicant, you're going to provide descriptive information, including the title of whatever position it was. So, was it president of said organization? You'll provide that organization name, as well as the approximate start and end dates, the frequency of your participation, the location, and then the setting is going to be what you'll provide about each of those. One tidbit that I always like to indicate for my applicants is even beyond this experience section, while this is part of the application process, it's something that your interviewers are going to read. So you're going to take the time to think about this and you will integrate it into other parts of making you a great applicant. Let's go to the next slide. So for your experience, in order to really kind of master this section, you are going to select your experience type and then the primary focus area. These are things that are actually drop downs that you can choose within it. And then there's going to be key characteristics as applicable depending on what you've selected, whether it's a research experience, a education experience, etc. You're able to briefly describe the experience, your major responsibilities or activities. And it's important to note that the context or that cannot be more important to make that in doing this, you need to do this in 1,020 characters or less. I think for major experiences, my opinion is that it is important to use that. So if you're the president of an organization, it should not just be ILEDs and meetings. You're really going to want to make sure that you detail not only what you did, but how that is making you a great applicant. Of note, programs are able to filter through the data to look for applicants who share the program's mission. So is it that a program has a mission area that is related to global health or serving the underserved? These are things that we are able to search for in the experiences. So things you may want to highlight or underscore within your application. Next slide. All right, so this is what, in terms of ERAS, the certain things, those kind of drop downs that you'll be able to look at. So the experience type, whether it's work, research, volunteering, there's an other section in terms of other extracurricular activity, club or hobby, a professional organization, teaching, mentoring. These are things that you're going to want to choose the experience type. And then when you flip over to your primary focus area, the different types of activities that are there. So whether it is a customer service experience or a healthcare administration experience, public health, there's a variety of different things in terms of those focus areas. And then thinking about what did you gain from that experience? I think that is, in terms of the skill or the key characteristic, that's what you're indicating there. So did it help with your communication? Did it help with your critical thinking and problem solving? Was it about developing empathy and compassion? Was it teamwork and leadership? These are the types of things or characteristics that residency programs look for in applicants. And so the idea is that you're drawing the line from lived experience to the focus area to what is that key characteristic for your application. Next slide. All right, and then the meaningful experience. So this is of note, selected from your 10 or 12 if you're applying for OB. Those are selected experience. It is out of those number. It is not that you're adding additional 3 meaningful experiences. You're choosing from the ones that you've already noted, and you can only select 3. And then what you're going to do with these is you'll write a 300-character description that is a reflection on that experience. Why was it meaningful to you? How did it influence you? What was it that made you who you are or makes you stand out? And why is that meaningful to you? It's really important in this section to make sure you're focusing on the why of the experience. Why was it meaningful and how it affected you? You're not necessarily explaining, I was SNMA national president and I did this conference. You're explaining that as SNMA national president, it was influential to me because I learned about working with a team and the importance of being an advocate. And that is something that I'm going to need to instill or use as a skill as a physician. Next slide.
And as I move to the next slide, I see there was a question about access to the slides. Unfortunately, you will not be getting access to the slides. However, this will be a saved recording and published to YouTube and the Facebook pages of SNMA, so you can review it there, and the Tour for Diversity page.
Awesome. All right, going back to the impactful experiences in ERAS. So this is an opportunity for you to provide information about the background and life experiences that are not captured elsewhere in the application. And it's really intended for those who've overcome major challenges or obstacles. We found some interesting data here where last year, 56% of applicants did provide a response to this question. However, that means 44% of people did not. Programs did instruct individuals that we do not expect all applicants to respond to this question, but it was just an interesting thing that we noted. So impactful experiences should be those that are life-changing, those that really directed you towards a career in medicine, whether it was an illness, whether it was a mentor, whether it was an experience in the workplace. What are those things that have impacted that path that you are on and pushed you to this point where you're on the road to residency? Next slide.
And there was a question, Dr. Freeman,
I'm
aside.
sorry. Yes.
When applying to medical school, one piece of advice was to have one medical, one research, and one hobby for the 3 meaningful experiences. Do you feel that holds true for residency?
So I think it can, but it depends on the individual. So it's really in medical school, I anticipate that many of you have spent time focused in different areas, whether you have been working in leadership. And so it's really that organizational time commitment to the SNMA or the LMSA that has really been an emphasis for you. And so is it those experiences that have really shaped where you're going as a physician? I think the other thing that I would add to that is a different type of meaningful experience is that your clinical experiences are also something to consider here. So you're choosing a specialty. What is it that has pushed you there? Whether it was an experience volunteering in a home for children on a global health rotation that have had you choose a career in pediatrics? Was it being an advocate for reproductive rights that has made you want to be an OB-GYN? There's I think a variety. So I wouldn't want you to limit yourself that it has to be research, it has to be this, it has to be a hobby. I think it's really thinking about yourself and trying to make sure you are drawing the picture of who you want a residency program to see, and making sure that that is what they gain from those impactful or meaningful experiences.
I think that is very, very true. And the second question that just popped up is, would you say it would be a red flag if all three meaningful experiences were not varied? I'd personally say no. They're supposed to be meaningful for you. So definitely, if they're meaningful to you, that's all that matters. They just want to know more about you.
I agree. I agree 100% with that. Um, just giving some more examples here of different types of impactful experiences. So this came directly from the AAMC. So whether it's your family background, or you're the first in your generation to graduate, first generation to graduate from college, was it your financial background? Whether you came from a low income family, or you worked to support your family growing up, or you've been working in college or medical school. I think those are unique experiences that can not only explain who you are and where you come from, but what you're going to want to do in medicine. Whether it was the community you grew up in, whether there were lack of access to medical care, were you acting as an interpreter for your family when they sought medical care, or they had issues with the American healthcare system? Was it educational experiences, whether it was limited access to advisors or mentors or educational opportunities, or just other general life circumstances, whether you've been serving as a caregiver, or you've lost a family member? These are things I think shape your life and shape who you are. And I think showing those and giving that insight to who you are from ERAS is what they want to gain from this section. And the next slide. Okay, so for the OB-GYN as residency program application, they do note these non-medical work experiences. And so this is unique. None of the other application services have specifically said that, but this is what they have described. So they want to hear about, have you reflect on any paid work experience that applicants have had, whether in undergraduate or medical school, that they've had to support themselves or their families. And they encourage applicants to list work experiences that have had prior to medical school, even those in high school. So they're willing to take it all the way back. If they demonstrate a long-term commitment and acquisition of skills and competencies, which may make them better communicators with patients, such as working in the service industry. So whether it's restaurants, hotels, etc. So what I take from this is they are very much interested in understanding and making sure that they can glean from their applications who has those skills of working with people. What is it that tells you that you're going to be able to connect with people on a day-to-day basis, on sometimes the best day of a person's life or the worst day? And how has your experiences, whether it was specifically in a non-medical setting, how is that going to help you and be ready to do that?
And Dr. Freeman, there's another question, which I think as mentors is probably the number one question we've been getting lately. I will try to display it on screen. It says, thoughts on adding background to red flag under impact experiences that may show resilience.
Mm. So I think that can be very helpful. I always say it actually, it's something that Dr. Anani taught me way back on the tour. If there is a red flag on your application, you want to make sure you are turning that into a positive. And so offering that background, or having that way where you are able to take it from that negative to showing resilience, I think is key. So taking the time to do that in your application, if there is something that you feel that you may need to have a little bit more explanation rather, whether so, I think some examples that come to mind right away would be a step failure, right? I wouldn't say it's necessarily, you want to be able to explain how that impacted you, but also show what you gained from it. I think that is a thing that's key. Dr. Anani, what would you add?
I feel like I have to turn my camera on for this just to like make sure. I would definitely agree. One, only highlight red flags that they know are red flags. STEP is obvious. Every program is going to get your STEP scores and whether you passed or failed. If you didn't honor your OB rotation, that may not be on there and it may not even be considered a red flag. So now you just brought it up and that was something the program didn't even care about. So make sure you're doing that. And like Dr. Freeman said, dig deep to make sure you are really showing that resilience. I failed it the first time and I took it again does not equal resilience. I failed it the first time. I crunched really hard. I studied while taking a full course load and working at McDonald's while learning how to cure cancer. That shows resilience. So make sure you add that full package into everything that you do.
And then next slide, but I think this might be, oh, last thing. So just a little bit of stats. So one of the things that in terms of preparing for this, it was important to note that 70% of program directors reported that meaningful responses help them get a better picture of the applicant. And then more than 80% of the PD surveyed said they use key characteristics and primary focus areas as ways to filter and figure out who those applicants were. So really highlighting the importance of programs are using this information. So it is something that you do want to master. You want to make sure that your experiences appropriately describe who you are, who you are going to be, and recognize that programs are reading this information and using it. And I believe that is where I transition to you, Dr. Anani.
Thank you. And if I start chopping out or if the video looks really crazy, y'all let me know at any point in time and I will turn it off. So we are diving into the other point of the application, gauging the geographic preference because we want you to know how to master this section. So on ERAS specifically, there is a section where you can now highlight which geographic area you would like to be in. There are 3 choices that you get to choose from, but there are 9 geographic locations. We will break down those locations in just a second with a map, but you get to choose 3 to say these are the places I want to be, or up to 3. There will be an opportunity to explain why, and you get about 300 characters to do that. You can select no preference, which is an option, meaning you don't have to say where you want to go. You just leave it blank. The different settings, so you can say geographic area and then settings in that geographic area. So I want to practice on the East Coast, Northeast, the whole New York, Boston area, but I want to be in an urban sector in New York. So you can choose urban, urban, suburban, 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 rural, or no preference. And then you get another 300 characters to explain why. One of the changes this year is applicants can now only enter 3 hometowns. I know everyone who's here, this is new to you and it's only been 3, but for anyone reapplying, you may have had 5 options to kind of show that you've been all over the place. You now only get 3. And you're now able to indicate the setting of your hometown. This is basically, again, so people can kind of just see where you really are and what you're really doing, and you're not oversaturating the application. So here are the geographic areas as listed. You can see Pacific is on this side. Your West Coast, pretty obvious. You have Mountain, where Dr. Freeman practices medicine over here in Colorado. You have your West North Central, West South Central, East North Central, East South Central, Mid-Atlantic, New England, South Atlantic. Mid-Atlantic only being 3 states is kind of crazy, but there are a lot of programs in those 3 states and people really want to stay there. So those are your options. What's really important, just to take it back, this is the data gleaned from 2022 to 2023, just so everyone knows. Programs were told to only use preferences as pluses. All right. They're not supposed to be punitive. If someone does not list your area, you're not supposed to knock them down. And this was not to be used for matching criteria. All right. People were only supposed to use this to kind of select who they wanted to interview, not who they wanted to match. So when the rank list came out, they weren't supposed to use this data. 47% of program respondents felt that applicants who show a preference for their region are more likely to accept and offer an interview. So program directors knew that. 82% of responding PDs used geographic the section during their admissions process. So when they're saying, hey, we really want to go through who we want to interview, they looked at this section and said, hey, this is really important. 59% responded that it helped them identify applicants whom they would have otherwise overlooked. I think that's really big, right? This whole session that we're doing right now, TOR, SNMA, LMSA, is to make sure that us, the hidden gems, now stand out. So for anyone who thinks they may have been at the bottom of a pile and they really feel like they'll shine in this program, make sure to click the location that program is in. I know it sounds obvious, and you may rise to the top. So that is one of the golden nuggets that we have provided for you guys here. So now you guys are clearly applying in 24-25. So you want the updated points that came along from the recent survey. So this is a drop here, but 28.4% last year said they use this again as a screening tool before a more thorough application review. Meaning, before they took the time to dig deep and figure out what you did to build your resilience and where you went to school and other things like that, this was just a screening tool off bat. 28% of programs used it. 50% of programs use it as part of their holistic application. You know, seeing if you have the full circle, this was a piece in there. Now, here's the big news again. We only bring you guys the hits, nothing but the hits. 16.5% used geographic factors as a tiebreaker to help decide whom to interview. This is very important. Programs have a limited number of slots, all right? So if they only have 100 slots and they're getting to the end and your application is now on the table with somebody else, 16, let's just round to 17% of program directors said that was used as a tiebreaker to say, well, they really want to be here, so that's the person we're going to accept. So when you get to the application and you select a preference, the applicant, let's say they indicate, again, we'll use Northeast, and they put that preference. What the program will see is the applicant's division preference, which is the Northeast, if provided in a small explanation. If you have no preference, it will say no preference in the explanation. But this is important. Okay, y'all? Again, nitty gritty. If you put a preference of another region, nothing is displayed to the program director. All right. So the program director can't say, oh, they don't want to come here. They really want to go to California. Why are they applying to New York? They'll have no clue. It'll just be blank. Now they can obviously note, well, clearly if it's blank, they didn't pick our region or they put no preference, but usually they got an explanation for that. So if it's just completely blank and no information is displayed, they can probably put 2 and 2 together, but that's okay. Because if you skip the section, the same thing happens. So it's okay to be blank, but if you can put something that identifies the region you really want to be in, that will be very, very helpful. All right. This is, again, some more data to consider from the 2023 cycle. And again, as usual, if you ask questions on the side, once they finally pop up through the delay, I'll be able to answer them. Geographic preferences. Most applicants indicated geographic preference, obviously. Approximately 1/3 of applicants indicated no geographic preference, 90 of whom provided a description of their lack of preference. And a lot of what mentors were telling their mentees is, hey, if you're going to put nothing, be very generic and I want to save the world. I have no preference because I'm willing to go anywhere that loves me and I love them and I'll help anybody, blah, blah, blah. So just make sure to use the words because they're offered to you. Approximately 96% of geographic preferences were paired with a description of the chosen geographic preference, obviously. As far as setting preferences, most applicants indicated a setting preference. Approximately 85% of setting preferences were paired with a short essay describing that. Of those applicants who reported no setting preference, about 80% again wrote a short essay describing why. So if they give you the chance to use words on the application, use words. You don't want any program director assuming or figuring out in their own brain what you were trying to say. All right. So now a big deal. We're still on ERAS. We'll get to the other programs. Signaling. Everyone will get quote unquote virtual tokens, which are signals that applicants can give to programs to show genuine interest. This was kind of created, long story short, back in our day. Used to kind of just email a program on the side. Hey, program, I love you. Do you love me? Circle yes, circle no. They kind of took that away now, right? You have this token, and that's really supposed to say this is really it. Because people would be sending that email to about 15 different programs, and it would mean nothing. Only participating programs in select specialties get signals. The vast majority do. There's a slide coming up showing you all that do. But if your program doesn't, that's okay. Some programs are like, hey, look, we're too small. No one's ever going to signal us. We don't want our feelings hurt. We're not going to put ourselves on the signal market. So even if you are applying to, let's say, emergency medicine, there may be a program in rural Montana who's like, we're never going to participate in signaling. We don't want our feelings hurt. But there may be a rural program in Montana who says we only want people who love us because we love ourselves. Therefore, we participate in signaling. Geographic preference is completely separate from a signal. All right. So you can signal, hey, Harvard, you number one, but I only want to go to Harvard. Of everywhere else, I'm moving to the California. So you can signal Harvard, you can send them your email, whatever else, but you can still put your preferences for other places. Again, signaling is supposed to, underline supposed to, only be used in the interview process. It's not to be used in ranking. We have the word allegedly there because the information is known. You have to take it out of your mind to separate it. Of course, we have many mentors who are PDs and deans all over the place who say their programs follow the letter of the law. And during their ranking process, they do not use signaling, but we can't say every program does. So just be careful and know that. All right. So what signals can be? Signals cannot be sent to a program track, but go to the whole institution for a specialty. Okay. So that may sound a little weird, but for people who are applying into like combination PEDS IM and things like that, you can apply to PEDS, but PEDS IM may be separate. Applicants are advised to use signaling to provide insight into qualities, skills, and interests they will bring to a program. So again, when you're signaling them, really put that punch about why you're the best. Signaling a signal resulted in a higher probability of interview invitation for all participating specialties through all research, through all feedback, going through the ranks. So if there's a program, you know, in your heart of hearts, this is in my top 10 for sure, then you got to signal them. It's going to increase your probability of that program. If you feel you have no shot, this is literally the definition of shooting your shot. Signal them. Make sure you do everything you can to get out there. All right. So next, you will see in the newest data from 2024, so fresh off the presses, program directors reported using signals during various stages of the application. All right. These numbers you will notice are a lot bigger than the geographic preferences. 40.6% used it as a screening tool before a more thorough review. All right. So they're not figuring out, again, why you didn't pass this. They're not looking at your dean's letter. They're not looking at your letter of recommendations. They are starting with, did you signal us or not? 52% use it as part of a holistic review. So now that they're going through all this other stuff, they've gone through your dean's letter. They know why you're resilient. They know why you're the president of multiple chapters. Now they're going to say, well, did they signal us? And then again, 25.8, just round up to 26, use this as a tiebreaker to decide who to send the interview for. So if you signal a program and you're in the right geographic region, you're probably most likely, 30% chance likely now to have that tiebreaker to want to get the interview process over someone else. We have a great question in the chat. Could you break down what goes into sending a signal? Does it provide a space to write an explanation for the signal? When are they typically sent out? Is it possible to find specialty-specific breakdowns for signaling data? Two separate questions. One, to the first question, we don't have a screenshot of the application to send you, but when you're in your application, you basically click signal this program, that program, that program, and it gets sent to them. I'm unsure of this explanation. I think I have something here that I'll explain a little bit better. I do. And you will see that in a bit. And to the second question, is it possible to find specialty-specific breakdowns for signaling data? Yes, I can. Some of them do, especially the ones that use their own specialties like Optho and plastics. But most right now just have the number of signals they get, and they just report all of what they did with that signal back to the LMSA, who then spits out this data like this as a whole. So I haven't seen it currently yet broken down, but hopefully we get our hands on that data. We can share it with you all. Signaling conclusion. Signalers experience higher rate of interviews. Non-signalers still receive interviews, so don't worry, y'all, but just at a slightly lower rate. Signalers have substantially higher interview rates, again, said meaning you're going to get more and they're going to be better interviews. Non-signalers, in contrast, see almost no interviews for some programs. So again, just throw it out there. Gold signals, which we'll break down in a second, boost interview rates the most, and followed by silver. And then non-signalers have close to zero interview rate changes, not interview rates. You still get interviews, people who don't signal. It's just for some of these bigger programs that have 1 million people who love them. Again, I'll just use Harvard as a blanket one. It's very rare you're going to end up getting an interview there and not signal them, because you have to ask yourself, who doesn't signal I want to go to Harvard? All right. So this is the breakdown with some of the changes for ERAS 2025, all the different programs. 22 specialties are participating in the ERAS match. Sorry, OB-GYN's not here. We'll get to that. Radiation oncology is new for this year, and 6 specialties did have some changes. EM decreased the number of signals you got. There are only 5 this year. As an emergency medicine doc, I don't know what we're doing. We had a really, really down year 2 years ago. We bounced back last year. I think we're feeling ourselves, and we just decreased the number of signaling because we had a lot more people apply. IM moved to a tiered program. So if everyone sees anesthesia, derm, diagnostic radiology, and IM have gold and silver. So you have a good number of programs you get to signal, 15 for IM, but 3 are gold, meaning I really, really, really want to come here. And silver kind of stands as a, I like you a lot, please look at me, but that extra really, really isn't there. Also of note, general surgery, neurology, PM&R, and psychiatry increased the number of signals that they got. They want to hear from more people. They want people to show more interest in more programs, kind of spread the wealth around. And so these have increases. And everyone else stayed the same. If you haven't Googled this, this is on the LMSA website. I'm going to pause here for 3 seconds so you can take a picture of the screen. All right, so now everyone should know how many signals they get per program. Ortho, be careful with those 30. That's a lot. So when you signal a program, it will come and look like this. So if you're like EM and it's a single tiered program, the program will see signaled program badge kind of next to your application. If you're 2-tiered like I am, it will say signaled gold badge or signaled silver badge. If you are a different program, meaning you didn't get one of those 5 EM signals, nothing's displayed. And if you skip the signaling process, nothing is displayed. So also of note, applicants cannot send a gold and a silver program to the same program. So you can't be cute like that and be like, all right, I really want to go here. I'm sending them 2 signals. You only get 1. So to the earlier question, programs kind of just see the badge. I don't believe there's any explanation that comes with the badge. It's kind of known, and during the interview, they may ask you about that, or you can kind of say to their face, hey, I really want your program for this reason. Or as stated in my personal statement, you stand out as a program. So that's what the programs get to see. Unlike geographic preferences, had the explanation written next to it. Hopefully that answers everyone's question. So for ERAS, because that's the biggest application of all, no shade to anyone else, we really wanted to gather all the changes that we are aware of for 2025 and present them on this slide. So first off, standardizing and structuring how they collect data. Higher education institution and field of study has been changed from open free text entry. I believe this means it should now be like a drop box and you select program versus type it in where you are. Same thing for honors, awards, and memberships, replacing open free text entry. Board and healthcare related certifications, instead of having kind of a separate collection for ACLS, PALS, and BLS, you can put them all in there now. When it comes to languages, some of us used to be cute and for Spanish have like fair or minimally conversational or things like that. You are now only able to select good or better when it comes to proficiency. So if you're out there and you just passed high school Spanish, you can no longer try to use that to look better on your application. Also, they are consolidated felony, misdemeanor, license suspension, and all those other things There used to be 5 separate boxes for yes, no. Now it's one really big box, yes, no, with the written prompt. This is important. And I really want to pause here for people who are unsure about credentialing. If you lie on this section, this is a massive deal. So if you have had a license suspended and you're reapplying and you kind of forgot and they found out later, huge mistake. So if you fit any of these 5, please click yes and write a prompt. We already went over hometowns going from 5 to 3. And we talked about it earlier. Hobbies and interests are now being put in experiences as a standalone section. So you don't have to bump, saving kids' lives for I like to play video games. And there's another question in the chat. Can signals be sent out after you submit your application, or do they have to be sent out at the same time you sent out your ERAS? So I can say for at least last year, I know working with various students, because I haven't had to do ERAS in a while, they were able to send out signals afterwards. They kind of just held on to them. But if you do that, you're not going to be near the top of the pile when it comes to selecting your interview. So we should all know there is a gap between the day you can first submit your application and when programs get them. If you add your signal into there, okay, that makes sense. But once the programs start reviewing applications, you really want to have all your up front already. My recommendation, at least. All right. Also, I will always use this disclaimer. I have 2 twins who bobble around the house. So if you hear yelling or doors open behind me, I'm a parent. I'm using that excuse. All right. So Optho, I told you we have other programs out there. Signaling for Optho, you get to signal up to 7 programs. This is straight from their website. Signals cannot be modified or added once the application is submitted. This is blatantly on the Optho one. Okay. I did not see that on ERAS. To answer your question earlier, Chelsea, hopefully it's pronounced like that. But for Optho, explicitly, once you submit your application, it has to be there. While signaling a program can enhance visibility and express increased interest, it does not guarantee an interview. It doesn't for any of them, but they were very explicit to make sure this was known for all of their Optho applicants. For plastics, I could not find a clear number of programs listed that participate in the Signal 1 process or that you could signal. It's clear they have it because they've done research on it in plastics. And this was the research I found. Nearly 80% of applicants and 70% of programs reported that preference signals were a useful addition. Programs reported that 41% of students who sent preference signals received interviews. So that's very good for plastics, compared to 84% of their home students, 64 for away rotators, and 7.1 of others. So if you didn't get away and you don't go to that school already, signaling probably really helped you. Students who signaled were 5.8 times more likely to receive an interview offer compared to students who are not, again, home students, as pointed out. And it was noted, and this I think can be extrapolated to ERAS, programs with higher doximity rankings, meaning people like them better, number of away rotators, and number of integrated residents per year received more preference signals. And all of these facts had, a low p-value. So very, very important for plastics. This is the best I could find. So don't waste those signals. Use them all. Obviously, you want to be a plastic surgeon, so why would you not? Again, these are things that you can't do with the signaling and geographic preferences. We want to bring them up to the forefront again so people aren't kind of taken aback or surprised or think it can be done. I will start with the geographic preferences. Asking applicants their preference when they did not provide a response. So again, if you don't provide a response, no one can ask you on interview day. So, they may kind of generally ask you, where do you want to practice? But look behind that question and try to see that they're not trying to tack you down. Asking applicants if they have indicated a preference for another geographic resident division is not allowed. Asking an applicant their division preferences when they're not indicated, not allowed. And using geographic information when creating your rank list is not allowed. And again, I don't know how they'll know if someone does or doesn't do it, but it's not allowed. Basically, all the same things apply to signaling. And I'll kind of let you guys read that and skip over it just so we can get to your questions, but that's what's applied there. All right. This is Thalamus. Most of you have never used Thalamus, and I'm going to bring Dr. Freeman back on screen here for Thalamus. Thalamus in 2025 is going to be the major way programs are going to do interviews. It's not here, hop on this Zoom link. Lots of programs that said they liked it better. I will let Dr. Freeman talk about it more, and then I will take over again in a bit.
Yes. Thanks so much. So I do come from a program that we did use Thalamus, and I think my understanding is, one, it has been very good for applicants. It allows you to schedule in one place, and so we're able to see your schedule for the day, select the day you want to schedule. And I anticipate, because multiple programs use it, you can see, actually make sure you don't schedule at Colorado, Harvard on the same day. So not that we would do that, right? So I think that's one thing. I think, the problems I saw with it, it was an additional login for the multiple things that we had. That was a little bit frustrating to have to log into a different thing. But also was very beneficial. Your interviewers are actually able to take notes in it about the applicant, which it can be helpful in terms of your evaluation. Of course, you then may see an interviewer typing, which you may not have seen before. And I think in terms of integrating into your ERAS, it did give you the benefit there. I think so many programs are just looking for an easier way to get through what is a massive process, and Thalamus has offered them a tool to do that, so that you can see all of the things in one place. So I think it's here probably to stay for a while.
I've heard the same thing. Sources close to me indicate that Thalamus is really liked by program assistants as well, because it's just much easier to schedule everybody, less of a headache. So just note, people, more than 80% of programs use it now. I know Zoom is even bigger than that, but anytime everyone can use the same thing, especially when people easily confuse Eastern time and Mountain time all the time, this is probably going to be here to stay and just be a much easier process. All right. We're going to pause here for a few more questions and answers. I know there are a lot of different programs out there. There's signaling, there's geographic preferences. We've talked about Optho, we talked about plastics, we talked about OB-GYN. This is all important. We believe this was a very encompassing presentation, but we know people have lots of questions out there. So definitely throw them in the chat, ask away. This is obviously a live setting, so I'm not going to pause here in silence too much. But I really want to know people's opinions and questions that they have for us. Even as I advance the slides, I will still go back and we'll make sure we answer everyone's questions. So get to typing, put them out there. I know working with students last year, this was a very big section for a lot of them. So I would almost start thinking about your signals now. One of the things I'll say about signaling is not your rank list. All right. Signal places you want to interview at. When you are done interviewing, go back and then make your rank list. You will be very surprised. Your number one can easily fall to 3, so on and so forth. You're not locked into it. Don't feel bad if you change your mind. Do what you need to do for this process. All right.
Looks like we have our first question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So do we still signal a program where we did an away rotation that's still doubling down on showing interest? So my opinion would be, if you had a positive experience and you would like to go there, I would signal them. Now, of course, I am in pediatrics. Pediatrics only gives you 5 signals, so you may want to consider not doing that. But just thinking about how a program thinks. If you do an away rotation with us, we already have gotten a chance to see you. If you don't signal us, then am I questioning, did you not like us? So it's hard. You don't want to play the game of guess what I'm thinking. But I would say if it's somewhere you would want to go after doing your rotation, I would signal them.
I had to put your question on the screen, K Irons, because it's a hot question amongst mentors. I literally had this conversation over technically lunch this morning. For EM and some of the EM programs I'm aware of, a lot of them are telling their away rotators, do not signal us. You are wasting your signal. You're sitting here right in front of me. I just did 12 shifts with you. If you like the program, tell me right now to my face and go use your signal somewhere else. I think that is the benefit of an away rotation. And you can definitely ask your PD, assistant PD. Hell, you can ask, the chief resident, like, I really like y'all. Should I use a signal on y'all? Because I really would like y'all. And they may say, yeah, double down, double down. They may say, no, don't do that. We already know we love you. You're ranked number 7 already or whatever. Don't worry about that. So ask around. And this is going to be a major plug for some slides coming up. Every specialty, we have a panel just for you. There will be program directors, assistant program directors. You can ask every question directly to their face before the application is even submitted and know the answer there. And there was another question in the chat. Just for clarification, can we signal a program outside our geographical preference? 1000% yes. Yes, you can. You can signal whomever you want, wherever you want. Preferences are kind of just saying where you want to be. I believe, and I need to go back and check this, you can select a setting preference without a geographic preference. And correct me if Dr. Freeman saying I'm correct. So what that means is I don't care if I'm in California, New York, Texas, or Florida. I do care if I'm in a rural setting. I do care if I'm in suburban setting. Those can be selected. So that's definitely a big point. Dr. Freeman?
Yes, I would. That's 100% true. You could. They are independent of each other, is how I think about it. You can now, of course, yeah. So in most places still have rural settings. Even New York, there are rural parts of New York. So I think you can do that without, and definitely you can signal outside of that. So if say Colorado's where you wanted to go, but you're like everything else you need to want more rural, then fine, you can also do that as well.
Yes, that is very important and a very big deal. I'm going to show the next slide, but again, if you have a question, we started late, so we're here for you. Type whatever you guys want. This is about money, so I wanted to make sure we got to it on time. Tour for Diversity is working with one of our closest partners, Vitality Health, and we are presenting 2 major scholarships. So for everyone in this setting right now, it's a 4th-year med student, Tour for Diversity in Medicine, Road to Residency, scholarship, you get money. All right, travel, here you go, apply. Applications are due September 30th. This is the website right here. There is, again, the Dr. Warren B. and Hitami Matthews Pathway Scholarship. This is for undergraduate students or alumni interested in entering medicine, dentistry, or pharmacy. So if you're watching this, you're probably already in med school, but you should have mentees, pre-med students, your MAPS chapters people. They should be applying to this because, again, money. I don't know what else I have to say besides money. I do have some insider knowledge that this is a good amount of money, and you have a very good chance. This is not like we have a gajillion applicants where we have to have signaling. We have a solid number, so don't come with your weak game, but make sure you are applying. So if you're in this chat right now and you feel like, man, I can use 3 more zeros in my account, I don't see why you're not going to tourfordiversity.org right now and applying. All right, now this is a slide I'm going to leave up while we continue to answer questions, because I know a lot of people have been waiting for this. The week of August 19th, these are all the different specialty panels. I know on the side it says register here, and like Dr. Anani, I can't click my slide. I want to apply. If you've already signed up for the Road to Residency with your organization, you should be getting an email. If you've not gotten an email for diversity on Instagram or Twitter, we will answer all the DMs and all the questions there and make sure that we can send you the link once we confirm that you are an active member. Most of these panels will try to get to anybody, so just ask the question. If you have any further questions, you can always hit up academic affairs for your organization or external affairs, who will just reroute you to our page anyways. So don't bother them if you don't have to, but there are lots of resources around. There's a question. Can you apply if you only just applied to SNMA? Those scholarships are open to everyone. Similar to signaling, they prefer SNMA and LMSA students, but I don't believe on the application you have to put your number or anything like that. I think it's just a question box. So feel free to apply. It's open to everyone. Oh, yes, this is a great question that just popped up. Thank you so much for all this info regarding activities. Each activity asks for a skill worked on through that activity. Should we try to highlight different skills, characteristics across activities, or try to show depth in a subset of skills? I'm gonna let you go first, Dr. Freeman, and then I'm gonna hop it on the back end.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's a balance, right? So I wouldn't want, I would not advise an applicant to only have worked on communication, because there are other skills that are really important in terms of being a physician. But if there are significant experiences that you've had that are related to, you've done multiple things that are related to communication, I would list them, but then go ahead and have diversity in the other experiences that you were characteristic that you are indicating that you worked on through that experience. And Dr.
I'm
Nani?
also I'm also team level up, right? If you tell me you do karate, there's a clear difference between a white belt and a black belt. So if you can show that the evolution in those skills through what you've done, that's great. But I don't think I would pick my skills just to show the evolution. So again, you only get 10. Pick 10 things that really matter to you. Now, if of the 10 things that really matter to you, 4 of them you worked on communication, then the communication you did first year of med school, say, this is basic communication. I learned how to interact with my peers. And that 4th year thing, I learned communication to interact with attendings and patients in a professional manner. I was able to present, show me that evolution. Show me why you're a black belt now, if you want to show that depth of a subset. The next question is, I'm not an active member of Tour for Diversity. Was fortunate someone told me about this. Shout out to everyone who shares stuff from Tour for Diversity. How do I become a member? Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Boom, you're a member. We don't have solid memberships similar to SNMA, LMSA. We're open to everyone. We call everyone our mentees. So kind of as long as you're working with us, we are working with you. There's no money to be paid. We're here for the students. The next question. Does signaling only have to be in programs in the same geographical location that you picked? No. We're going to say this again. No. Comes up every year. I'm glad you asked it again today. No. Signaling right hand, geographic preference left hand. If they intermix, great. If they stay separate, that is also fine. I also want to make sure I show the second and last slide, and we're still taking questions. We do have some new specialty focused panels because we see it every year. Applying as an IMG is vastly different from everything else. There are a lot more tips and tricks there. August 23rd. Applying as your authentic self. We realize that people have various backgrounds, and oftentimes in talking with mentees, they feel they had to repress or hide those backgrounds. So there are many members that we've spoken with that are part of the LGBTQIA plus background and felt like I couldn't put that on my application. I didn't want to be judged. And some are like, I want to put that on my application. We've had people in the past, hey, I was kind of using generic cultural terms. I was in the closet all through med school. I can't do that in residency. I want to be my authentic self. How do I do that? And this is where we'll talk about that on the 19th. And then again, being a financially savvy resident, liability insurance, what kind of health insurance you get, term, non-term, buy a house, rent an apartment. Should I fly? Should I not fly? Should I drive my stuff across state? Should I ship it? We'll talk about all of that September after you submit your application, because applications first. Then we'll talk about the money. All right, let's see. Do you have any other questions out there for us? I'll give people a few. All right. While we give you the last 10 seconds, again, Tour for Diversity in Medicine, T4D, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, hit us up. This will be on our YouTube page. Send it to your friends. You can tell your friends, hey, you may have missed this one. There are more sessions coming. We want to make sure we're here to make sure everyone matches. So there's a question here, earlier part, any guidance on how best to answer the impactful experience question? All right, I'll kick that back to Dr. Freeman and let her answer that very quickly. You get a 2-sentence synopsis.
Yes. So yes, I guess 2 sentences. How can I do that? So this is a way you're going to talk about things that are life-changing, course-changing, that have really changed the way that brought you to that road to residency. I'm also going to just give a plug for this is going to be posted to both, I believe, SNMA and LMSA YouTube channels. And so we did have a good section on that. And so I would encourage you to go back and check that out. to get some more in-depth information about that.
There we go. And probably the last question of the day, because we're about at our hour, is it okay if we don't have a geographic preference? The answer is yes, but there are some preferences if you do. Um, there were lower benefits in comparison to signaling, but there were still some out there. So just consider it. If you want to skip it, skip it. To me, I think the setting preference is more important than the geographic preference because your signaling kind of shows that. But again, every program is different. And can you reach out to us with additional questions? 1,000%. That's why we keep telling you where we are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook over and over again, because we want you guys to reach out for us. You may get an answer from myself or Dr. Freeman or from any other T4D mentor, but you will get an answer. If it's a question that's a little on the sillier side, the answer may take longer to come as we figure out how to decode that and answer professionally, but you will get an answer. All right. Thank you all. It's been a great hour. Reach out to us on those platforms, and major success to everyone in this application process. Have a good night. And it always takes a second, guys. So if you're still here, we're ending the stream, but we still love you. So have a good night.